all you need to know, the Bloomberg Quint podcast that prepares you for the day's business.
Good morning and thanks for tuning in. This is Bloomberg Quint and I am Hormuz Fatakia, here to tell you all that you need to know on the 26th of March, the final trading day of the week. First up, India has slowed down exports of the coronavirus vaccine as the country grapples with a second wave of the virus, as well as gears up for the next round of inoculations starting the 1st of April. Sources told Bloomberg that a schedule for vaccine exports was in place until the 28th of March but has been put on the back burner. Speaking of the virus, India reported its biggest single-day jump in new cases since October last year, with Maharashtra reporting close to 36,000 new cases on Thursday, with Mumbai reporting over 5,500 new cases. Market regulator SEBI at its board meeting on Thursday has approved key changes on alternative investment funds regulations, promoter reclassification, sustainability reporting, dividend policy and delisting regulations. SEBI circular said that a listed entity must now upload audio or video recordings of all analyst meetings within 24 hours or before the next trading day. The circular also said that a promoter will be required to disclose their intentions to delist the company through an initial public announcement, and that he will be bound to accept the price discovered through reverse book building if it is the same to the floor price or indicative price. An amendment in Schedule 3 of the Companies Act of 2013 now mandates companies to disclose their investments in cryptocurrencies or any other virtual currency. Companies will also have to disclose the source of funds and profit or loss earned through such transactions. The companies will need to make additional disclosures on corporate social responsibility, promoter shareholding, Benami property transactions, among others. The government will put 67 mines on the block, the biggest ever auction of coal mines in the country. Winners will be allowed to produce and sell the fuel, a reform meant to open up the coal sector to private companies. The deadline for submitting technical bids has been set as the 27th of May, while electronic auctions have been scheduled between June 28th to July the 28th. The Supreme Court will be announcing its judgment in the Tata Mistry case today at 11 a.m. The three-judge bench which will deliver the verdict will include Chief Justice of India S.A. Bobde, Justice A.S. Bopanna and Justice V. Ramasubramanian. E-commerce giants Amazon and Flipkart have asked the government to tweak or come up with new rules for foreign investment for the sector, saying that it could cause disruption and potentially dent global investment sentiment. The government is considering a revision in FDI policy, which was last changed in 2018. While Flipkart said that frequent policy changes can spoil India's reputation as an investment hub for foreign players, Amazon said that any policy change will trouble them as well as their seller ecosystem. From the IPO space, the second day of Barbecue Nation's issue saw a muted response as equity markets too remained volatile on Thursday. The issue saw overall subscription of close to 2 times, with the retail portion seeing subscription of close to 10 times. Institutional and non-institutional portion saw negligible interest. In corporate news, various entities of Reliance Jio, which are the promoters of Hathway Cable and Datacom, intend to sell 34 crore shares of the company, or 19% of the total equity, through an offer for sale. The floor price for the OFS has been set at 25.25 rupees per share, which is an 11.7% discount to Thursday's closing price. As per the December quarter shareholding pattern, the promoters held 94% stake in the company. Similarly, various Jio entities, which are also the promoters of Den Networks, plan to sell over 5.5 crore shares, or 11.6% of the total equity, through an offer for sale. The floor price of 48.5 rupees per share is a discount of 11.5% to Thursday's closing price. As of the 31st of December, promoters held 86.5% stake in Den Networks. Both the offer for sales will open for non-retail investors today and for retail investors on Tuesday. Applications for unemployment benefits in the US fell to their lowest in a year as business restrictions eased in many states and vaccinations picked up. Initial claims fell by close to 1 lakh to 6.8 lakh as per Labor Department data. The median estimate in a Bloomberg survey had projected the claims to be 7.3 lakh. The crisis at the Suez Canal continues amid warnings that the salvage team can need days or maybe even weeks to remove the giant container ship that has blocked the waterway. The Suez Canal Authority has temporarily suspended traffic along the waterway even as a huge backlog of vessels continues to build up. With that, I head over to Neeraj Shah for the trade setup of the day. Morning, Neeraj. Well, the year-end rebalancing, rising COVID cases, it's all coming in together in terms of headwinds for the markets, isn't it?
Yeah, well, Hormuz, it did seem as if all the headwinds were combining. But somehow I think that the start of the April series is benign, slightly benign, even if it's not promising. The good news is that the last 5 April series have been positive. In the trade setup yesterday, we spoke about the extension of short rollovers likely, and I think that would have happened because rollovers are at 82%, higher than the average of 75% or thereabouts that I've seen in the recent past. FI longs are at 62%, which are lower than what has been, I reckon, the average at the start of the series for 2021. But somehow something tells me that the start of the April series is a lot more benign than what we would like to believe. And while there are multiple factors to watch out for, including COVID cases, global sentiment, RBI policy for us on the 7th, and quarter 4 results starting off, I would reckon that the fact that the markets are off 10% from the peak provides some comfort. In fact, from a bull's perspective, US Treasuries, crude have all backed off over the last few days. So to that extent, the stress is cooling off. Real rates have also retreated, and all of these are positive signs. Oil prices have seen a seesaw on the Suez Canal blockage and European lockdown woes. But while one is an event, the other is a slightly more than an event, and thus the downside jolt for now seems stronger than the upsides. Having said that, the reopening and reflation trade could have stronger odds versus a slowdown impact on crude for FY21, and I'm saying this from a perspective of oil sensitives. I will watch out for BPCL today. What with EIL and Oil India entering into the agreement to buy the Numaligarh stake. The DIPAM secretary also exuded confidence at a Times News event that the divestment process is going along well and will see conclusion by September. So you might see some interest for BPCL. Watch out for some bounce in oversold stocks like Reliance and select banks and real estate firms. Technology will soon be firmly in the driver's seat, remember, as the results season comes closer. Watch out for Tech Mahindra. Individually, I think a CLSA note today says that in their recent conversations, the company's indicated a pickup in deal momentum that could shift its quarterly order book significantly above its normal run rate in the near term and help lower the gap in revenue growth versus peers over FY22. It's a detailed note, but this alone seems to be a pretty significant statement that Tech Mahindra would have made. Lastly, do remember that the battle that started in October 2016 with the sudden ouster of Cyrus Mistry as chairman of Tata Sons concludes today in the Supreme Court. I know all of us have spoken about it and I'm repeating it, but it is just such an important decision. The three-judge bench will determine if indeed there was oppression and mismanagement at Tata Sons as alleged by Cyrus Mistry, and also will decide on the legality of his sacking as well as the loss of his directorship on the company board. It's a huge decision, and we will put out updates on our Twitter timeline as well as do shows on the same, in addition to the stories, of course, for everybody to get a lowdown on the judgment. So do watch out as much as for trade as for some key judgments that will come in on the Indian side. Thanks so much for tuning into this podcast. Have a safe day ahead.
I hope you enjoyed listening to All You Need to Know. Did you know that you could listen to the show on the IVM Podcast app? On the IVM Podcast app, along with this, we have a number of other shows which you think you'll enjoy. Listen to Cyrus Says with Cyrus Brocha as the host. Listen to Paisa Vaisa with Anupam Gupta. The Scene and the Unseen with Amit Verma. Or Shunya One hosted by Shiladitya Mukhopadhyay and myself. Check out the IVM Podcast app to get more talk content that you will enjoy.